Action is his reward to him. Life is a great big day. Wherever there's a hang, you'll find a Spider-Man.
Hello YouTube, it is Mandak coming at you with another video. It's Wednesday. I know I did a podcast yesterday, so I know what everyone's thinking. Oh my god, Dan's doing 2 videos in 1 week. What a shocker. But yeah, so I'm starting a new series of videos, and this is the first one of that series. And I guess I'll just use this video as the introduction to this whole series. I'm going to have the picture that I'm talking about in over here or over here. We'll see. I think I'm going to put it over here because I like having my comic books displayed over here. So I don't want to cover them up, obviously. But this series of videos is going to be displaying the art that I've drawn over the past few years. And I'm looking to get more into drawing art again. I had taken a pretty long break. I haven't drawn anything in like, I want to say maybe 8 or 9, like 7 or 8 months, I think, since like January, February. So I'm gonna try to get back into that, but I have a bunch of other pictures I want to talk about, and each of these videos is going to be kind of like a little discussion of my inspiration for the piece, you know, how I went about drawing it, how, you know, when did I draw it, that type of stuff, you know, what I was doing when I was drawing it, what made me inspired to draw it. So it's all that stuff. You know, growing up, you know, I had art class and stuff like that, and I always loved to doodle. You know, I did like stick figure comics. I think I mentioned it earlier. I did Meat Man, and like I always had an affinity, I guess, for drawing. Even if I wasn't as good as other people were. Um, you know, I grew up in a school where there were people that were really gifted with art. Some ended up going to the Philadelphia Institute of Arts, others to other different schools for art as well. So, you know, I got to learn a lot from my teachers as well, graphic design, that type of stuff. So, it's always been a hobby of mine. Obviously, for me, I never saw it as a career. I don't think I was ever that good at it to pursue a career in it. So I went to school for engineering. I didn't go to school for art, but I still love to draw. I doodled throughout college. I really started drawing a lot of these pictures between my junior and senior year of college. I sat down and I started just drawing stuff that I just love to draw every night almost. And that's usually the body of my work that I'm going to show these pictures with is from that time period. So yeah, so I enjoy drawing, you know, and as you would assume, most of my work is Marvel, Star Wars based. There's some Pokemon, Nintendo stuff thrown in there, but most of it, I would say probably about 90% of it is Marvel stuff. A lot of it's, you know, close-up faces, that type of stuff. So I'm going to try to move away from that and do some bigger pieces and other stuff going forward. But anyway, for right now, we're going to talk about one of my favorite pieces. It is the thumbnail of my YouTube channel. Anyone who subscribed to me has seen it before and has probably wondered what the hell is that. And I figured I'd describe it today as the perfect opening to this series of videos. And this piece I call, in quotes, I Saved You. And for anyone who's a Spider-Man fan, they will know exactly where that is referenced from. So I guess a little bit of backstory here. So so during the summer of 2016, I went to PhillyCon for the first time, and I think I explained this earlier in another video. I went to PhillyCon 2016 for the first time, my first Comic-Con with my friends, and I walked around and I noticed like all these collectors collecting all these books and all that stuff, and it suddenly just threw me back into wanting to collect comic books because I'm like, this is such a cool hobby, and there's so many. The way I see it is that comic book reading is like turning over stones, right? You're trying to figure out little pieces of history, and you're trying to piece them all together, and that's kind of what comic is to me. You know, between characters and their appearances in other books, it's just it's an unending treasure hunt for your favorite characters, and it's just such a rewarding experience to read them and hear and experience it for yourself. So after I came back from the con, I actually picked up my Spider-Man Essentials that I had. I had like 1 through 6 or 1 through 7, and I just started picking up where I left off. I think I left off around like the middle of the 3rd Essential volume, and I just started reading those. The Essentials were in black and white, but I started reading Spider-Man again, and I just fell in love with it again. I said, you know what? I really enjoy Spider-Man. I don't know why I ever stopped reading this. This is such a great book, and eventually I went on to read more of my went to read all my Iron stuff, and I bought an omnibus, and the rest is history. I'll explain that probably in a later video. But during that time, I read up to the Essential Volume 6, which contained issues 121 and 122, which, if anyone who's a Marvel fan knows, Amazing Spider-Man 121 marks the death of Gwen Stacy by the hand of the Green Goblin. So, when I was thinking about what I wanted to draw with Spider-Man, I had a bunch of different ideas. Obviously, Amazing Fantasy 15, that pose came to mind. I actually did a piece on that. I'll probably explain that in a different video. But I wanted to do something with the death of Gwen Stacy. I wanted to do something that, reflected my experience with that book, right? Because a lot of my reading for Spider-Man was build up to this moment, because I knew about it going into it. I knew that Gwen Stacy was going to die in 121. It wasn't a shocker to me when she died. But I was so excited reading up to it, because I knew, all this build up that was coming was just going to end in this bombshell that was just going to destroy Peter and, ruin his whole life. And even reading issues after that, it was just so dramatic, how he would explain like his constant fight to get past the death of Gwen Stacy. So I wanted to make a piece that was reflective of that, and but I also wanted to make it, more reflective. I wanted to make sure that people understood it was from Spider-Man as well. So I didn't want to draw something that was, kind of from that issue, but wouldn't be. So I think I remember tossing around like a few ideas. Like I was gonna try to recreate part of the cover from Amazing Spider-Man 122, which features Spider-Man holding Gwen Stacy in his arms. I was actually going to do something too from the last panel of 121, where Peter goes like, "You've killed the woman I love, and today you're gonna die." And he's like standing over, Gwen's body, like holding his arm up, like pissed as all hell about his girlfriend dying. So, but one thing one image that drew me in, and I focused in on, was Gwen's lifeless body being pulled up from the webs after being tossed off the bridge. And it's such a, when I was reading it, I remember that moment, and it was just so sad to see Peter's reaction, because when he caught her, he's like, "Yes, I caught her. She's safe." And he was like gloating himself for his powers. He was so happy that he finally caught her after being tossed off the bridge, and he really thought she was alive. And to find out, after pulling her all the way up, to find out she's dead, it's just such a sad and such a powerful moment in his character. It made me feel really bad for him. It's just, not knowing how bad something is until you find out that it's that bad, it sucks. So I knew I wanted to incorporate that image into my piece, and I always loved Spider-Man's eyes, dating back to Steve Ditko's design. Romita kind of refined it a little bit more and gave him that those thick outlines on his eyes. I mean, I know Ditko originally did it, but Romita. When I think of Spider-Man, I think of Romita Sr.'s version. That is, to me, that's the definitive Spider-Man. I know Ditko did a lot for the character, but Romita really fleshed out that character, and it's just used everywhere. So I wanted to use the eye, and I wanted to use that image. So I figured, you know what? Why don't I put that image into the eye? And that's pretty much what I did with this piece. You can see here, obviously I did this all with marker. I'm not really, except there's one part that I'll get to later that I didn't do with marker, but I did this all with marker because, I'm not really going for finesse here. I'm not really trying to make it look absolutely like perfect. I just want to have a representation of what I wanted to convey, and I think the eye came out pretty well. The eye is very tricky to draw. It's a very unique shape, and every artist draws it different. Some have it curl up, some have it curl down or to the side or whatever, and the thicknesses of the black usually changes with different artists. Ramita had his, kind of like Ditko's, and it kind of evolved over time. Then you have McFarlane, who has like the lot wider eyes. Um, but I wanted to make sure I got the eye right, and I think it came out as good as it possibly could. The webbing on the outside, I think, could have been a little thicker to make it look. But I wanted to make sure that the eye was the focal point. I didn't want to make the webbing on the outside of the face, take away from the image on the inside. So, drawing Gwen Stacy, I will say it doesn't look as good as it should be, but I think everyone can kind of see what it is. I think the best part about that whole thing was trying to get the highlights. What I love about the old comics, especially even into the 90s, I think, is when they wanted to do black, like black clothing, black boots, for example, with Gwen Stacy, they had to add blue highlights. So I made sure to add those because it's just, now in today's comics you don't see that as much. But they used blue back in that time because that was the only color that would really contrast and make it look like it was black. So I made sure to add that little detail, and the highlighting and the shading on the jacket was a bitch. So if you look at it from far away, it looks good, but if you look in close enough, I mean, there really isn't a disparity of different lines in there in terms of like thicknesses. But as we go on, I got a better pen later on after I drew this, so you'll see probably some better line work in some of those pieces. I mean, as best as you can do with a marker, right? So I added that image of her dead body. I know it sounds really weird, but and then the quote, the title of this whole piece, "I saved you," is what Spider-Man says to Gwen as he's holding her, and he can't understand why she's dead. He said, "I saved you. I saved you. Like, you can't be dead." So it's the tragedy of this whole thing, and to have this reflection of Peter staring into, from his eye to see his dead girlfriend. That's the image I wanted to convey. And the last thing I wanted to do to close out this video is to explain a little bit more about the shading on the eye. So obviously when I finished this piece, I was totally intending on keeping it white in the background, because I figured, I want to make this white so that way, the contrast between Gwen's body and the lens of the mask, it would contrast and look cool. But then I was looking at it, I'm like, what if I just put a tad, like a light shade of yellow in there? And I realized that putting that shade of yellow in there kind of gave that eye a little bit of depth. It looks like it's kind of popping up, like it's on his face a little bit. So I don't know if that's what everyone else sees, I guess, but I kind of want, I do like how I added that, and it came out a little bit nice. The shading is what it is. I don't think if I was given a little bit more time, I probably could have done a better job, but I was so quick to get this done and show people and scan it and upload to Facebook and Instagram that I didn't really do much. But yeah, that is the whole story of this art piece titled "I Saved You." So next time we'll probably go over. I'm probably gonna try to do some Iron Man stuff. I did a lot of Iron Man work as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's semi-short, but be checking out some more art videos coming forward. So see you guys later.